I'm not going to lie, this is a tough week on Draftkings for NFL Week 10. So make sure you watch this entire video if you want to know who the best plays are and how to profit on this slate. I'll start with Justin Fields here. As you can see on the screen, Justin Fields is one of the best plays on the slate, 6,500. I'm projecting for him to be the highest owned quarterback on the slate, coming off of a 45.72 fantasy score game last week on DraftKings. The rushing floor is just extremely high with 10 plus carries in 3 out of his last 4 games. He has rushing touchdowns in 3 straight games, and that's kind of been the story with Justin Fields over the last month of the season, is the efficiency has just rose to a completely new level. He's scoring touchdowns on the ground. He's being more efficient through the air, and if you watched the video last week, I think that's just more so a function of the Bears changing play callers and them finally designing an offense around Justin Fields. Now at 6,500, I don't think he's a must play. I don't think he's a stone lock because I think he is fairly priced at 6,500. But on this week 10 slate, we are pretty strapped for cash. There are not that many great value plays, and you're getting a little bit of a discount off of Justin Fields from Patrick Mahomes, who is 7,900. So Justin Fields would be my favorite cash game quarterback for week 10. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have a ton of content about Prize Picks, DraftKings, live streams every single Saturday night at 10 p.m. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's free. It helps us out a ton. Leave a like on the video and leave some comments down below. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this week 10 slate. At the top, I mentioned that Patrick Mahomes and Case Keenum are also in play. Patrick Mahomes at 7,900 at home against Jacksonville. He's just in a very good spot. This game has the highest total on the entire slate. There's only 10 games, so that is definitely super valuable. And I think the big thing with Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team in general is they just do not want to run the football. They do not love their running back. CEH is a part-time running back at best. Jerick McKinnon isn't, that great. Isaiah Pacheco isn't good at all. So this game is going to be put in the hands of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, MVS, Juju Smith-Schuster. And at 7,900, Patrick Mahomes is the pay-up quarterback. But if we're comparing him to a player such as Josh Allen, who we've been paying up for this entire season, I think his floor and ceiling is a little bit lower than Josh Allen's. So that's why I'd be more comfortable getting away from Patrick Mahomes and playing Justin Fields in cash specifically. But nonetheless, Patrick Mahomes is still a very good play on this slate. I think Case Keenum is also in play at 5K. Josh Allen, I think, is more likely to be out than not at the time of this recording. I think Case Keenum can just get propped up by the talent around him. I think the Bills coaching staff is very talented. I think the Bills have some of the best skill position talent in the league, and Case Keenum is one of the better backup quarterbacks in my opinion. So if we're getting a starting quarterback at 5K in one of the best offenses and one of the best offensive schemes at home in one of the better matchups on the slate, I think he is definitely in play for week 10. Speaking of players in play for week 10, let's move on to the running back position, and here are the must plays at running back. I mean, do I really have to sit here and say how good of a play Saquon Barkley is at home? 8,600 against the Houston Texans, the worst or one of the worst run defenses in the NFL by far. They get absolutely slaughtered by opposing running backs. Saquon is averaging over 90 rushing yards per game. We talked about it in one of our prop videos. We love the Saquon Barkley over on Prize Picks. If you're not on Prize Picks, go make sure you join Prize Picks and watch our videos. Saquon Barkley is definitely the standout play in my opinion on the slate. Now, he's not going to project as the best value because, like I mentioned, this slate is a slate where there is not a ton of value, so it might be hard to fit him in. But my lean right now is trying to figure out a way to play Saquon Barkley because the matchup, the opportunity, and the talent is just far too great for this week 10 slate. Speaking of another running back whose opportunity is far too great, that is Dameon Pierce. I mean, negative game script, positive game script, it does not matter for Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is going to be a player who sees 20 to 25 touches on a weekly basis. The Texans, quite frankly, just have nobody outside of Dameon Pierce on their offense right now that can create yards and move the ball down the field. It's just that simple. Now, do I want to play 2 running backs in a cash game lineup from the same game in one of the lowest total games on the slate? Probably not, but I think the field is going to gravitate towards Dameon Pierce over Saquon Barkley. Dameon Pierce is projecting to be the highest owned running back on this week 10 slate. He's projecting as one of the best values on the entire slate. And Dameon Pierce at 6,300, in my opinion, is one of the better running back plays on the slate. You just know he is going to get opportunity. I think the touchdown upside in the spot is extremely high, going up against a Giants run defense that hasn't been great, and they have allowed prior big games to opposing running backs. So Dameon Pierce, 6,300. I think he is a must play in week 10. So Saquon Barkley and Dameon Pierce are my 2 favorite plays at the running back position. I think some honorable mentions can go to Travis Etienne once again. Travis Etienne has just come into a ton of opportunity, and that is the end-all be-all, at least for me, in Draftkings for the running back position. I want the running backs who are talented and who are going to see the most opportunity on a weekly basis, especially if I'm focusing on cash games where I'm prioritizing, a higher floor and maybe a lower ceiling. And at 7,100, Travis Etienne may project for one of the biggest workloads on this week 10 slate. I think he is a phenomenal play. Once again, just an uber talented running back coming into a ton of opportunity in one of the best game environments on the slate. I don't think you can go wrong with Travis Etienne. And I think the next running back that I would consider for cash games would be Alvin Kamara, 7,400. I mean, what else needs to be said about Alvin Kamara? I mean, the touchdown upside is extremely high. The opportunity is extremely high with some of the injuries that the Saints have on offense, with Mark Ingram being out for a few weeks. Michael Thomas is out for the season. Jarvis Landry is banged up, but he should be back, in my opinion. I think this spot just sets up really, really well for Kamara. If I had to lean, I think I would lean Etienne just for the game environment, but Kamara is just going to project better from a reception standpoint, and I think he's more talented than Travis Etienne. But those are the 4 players that you should be considering for cash games at the running back position. Wide receiver, I'm not going to lie, there's not too much that I love. I think this is definitely a 3 running back week for sure, but taking a look at some of the wide receivers that I believe are the best plays, I think Tyreek Hill is easily the best wide receiver play on the slate. 9,100. I mean, he's obviously priced as the number 1 wide receiver, so that's not a hot take, but he's projecting as the best value on this entire slate, even at 9,100, and the role is just so freaking good with Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's one of the highest targeted players in the NFL. He has one of the highest ceilings in the NFL at the wide receiver position, and this Dolphins offense just functions through Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, Tua absolutely locks in on Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill, 9,100, definitely in play for week 10. I think he is a phenomenal play. So I have the rest of the wide receivers up, as you can see on the screen, and I'm just going to talk about some players that I think should be in cash game consideration for you. I think Cooper Kupp at 9K is definitely a standout play. I think ASB at 6,900 is in cash game consideration. Once again, projecting to be one of the highest, if not the highest owned wide receiver on this slate. The target share is just extremely good. No TJ Hawkinson there anymore. The targets are condensed a little bit. Josh Reynolds is also out. So Jared Goff, on the road in Chicago, should be locked in on ASB in this spot at 6,900. I definitely love that. Some guys in the mid-range look interesting. Juju Smith-Schuster, Christian Kirk, 6K, 5,900. I definitely think you guys should consider them for cash. I think Jerry Jeudy is also a little bit interesting, and Cortland Sutton. I mean, I think that this is just a slate where you are going to be in the mid-range for most of your positions. I mean, this is just a slate where, you're not going to be able to fit in some of these high-priced players. It's just that simple. Maybe 1, maybe 2 max, but just with the lack of value that we have on the slate, outside of defense and tight end, there is just absolutely none. So my lean in cash specifically, I'm playing ASB. I'm probably playing one of Juju Smith or Christian Kirk, and then I'm probably looking to Donovan Peoples-Jones at 4,300. DPJ in one of the better spots on the road in Miami. Banged up Dolphins secondary. 4 out of his last 5 games, he's gone over 10 Draftkings points. Obviously, no touchdowns, as you can see. But at 4,300, I think this is just a play that you might have to make to open things up for your lineup in week 10. And finally, the players that you should be considering at tight end for cash games in week 10. Foster Moreau is a must play at the tight end position. 3,200 at home against this terrible Indianapolis Colts team. The Raiders put Darren Waller on IR. The Raiders put Hunter Renfrow on IR. The targets are very consolidated at this point to Devontae Adams, Foster Moreau, and probably Mac Hollins. So Foster Moreau, 3,200. I think he's a must play. You know, when Darren Waller is not in the lineup and Foster Moreau starts, he is running a ton of routes. He is playing a ton of snaps. And as you can see on the screen, 3 of his last 3 games, he's gone 5+ targets, and the opportunity at the tight end position is all I want, especially cheap tight ends. So if he's going to be out there running a ton of routes, running a ton of plays, Foster Moreau at 3,200 is definitely my favorite play on the slate. The only other tight end that I would consider is Greg Dulcich. Has a very good role. He has a ton of opportunity, 17 targets in 3 games. Now he's coming off of a bye going into Tennessee, where Tennessee has a very stifling run defense. So I think this could be a pass-centric game plan for the Denver Broncos. So he's going to be playing a ton of snaps. He's going to run a ton of routes, very similar to Foster Moreau. I think he's probably a little bit better in terms of talent, and he's 200 more. But on a slate where I'm looking to save as much money as possible, I think Foster Moreau is the correct play here at 3,200, and you save that 200, you know, at a position where these guys really just aren't going to separate in a meaningful way. And at the end of the day, most of these guys are going to score 5 to 10 points. So it really doesn't matter in the end. But Greg Dulcich, if him and Foster were the same price, I would prefer him. But since Foster is 200 less, I prefer Foster. And that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and watched all the way through. These are the must plays that you need to be playing if you want to profit on DraftKings in week 10. I will see you guys next week. Make sure you guys check out all of the content that we have posted for NFL week 10, and we will also be live streaming tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. See you guys then.